Here we have the inside of the Rollerteam Auto-Roller 707. If I firstly move to the main control panel, I can turn the 12 volt on just here. As you can see at the moment, this is just letting us know that we are connected to mains electricity and that we are charging the batteries. Water pump on and off just up here. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps. Flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it has been drained down. We then have awning light on and off. The main isolator for all of the onboard lights. These can then all be individually turned on and off on their own switches. Internal temperature. How much water is in the fresh tank and how much water is in the waste tank. Condition of the leisure battery and condition of the vehicle battery. If I now move across the motorhome to the Truma control panel for the heating and hot water system, you'll see at the moment that it's displaying the time and it's also letting us know that we're connected to mains electricity. If I now press the button, a series of icons will appear, and as I rotate the button they will begin to flash. If we start with the first icon just here, this one is for your heating, and if I now click on it, heating is off. And if I now begin to rotate the button, we can pick whatever temperature we would like it inside the motorhome, right the way up to 30 degrees. Once you've decided on a temperature, press the button to store it in, and you'll now see a little flames appeared above, and that little flame there just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you have set a parameter. Whenever the heating is in operation, the flame will begin to flash, and it will continue to flash until it has achieved the temperature you have asked. If I now move across to the next icon, this one here is for your hot water, and again if I now click on it, hot water is off. If I now rotate, we can heat hot water in eco mode. This will give us a water temperature of about 40 degrees. If I rotate again, we can heat the water in hot mode, which will give us a temperature of about 60 degrees. And if I rotate it again, we can perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want hot water very quickly. If I do perform the boost and the heating's running, the heating will turn off as it needs to use that extra power. And again, the icon will continue to flash until it has achieved the temperature you have asked. Next we have power source selection. So at the moment, to do both the heating and hot water, I am using mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. And this is indicated by the 2 lightning strikes above just here. If I rotate the button, I can lower to 1 kilowatt, very handy if we're on a low amp site to try and avoid tripping. If I rotate again, I can use, if this is available, both a mixture of gas and main supply at 2 kilowatts and a mixture of gas and main supply at 1 kilowatt. These 2 settings here are very handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly, and it will only consume gas as it's required. And then lastly, if we have no main supply, we can solely run on the gas. Next we have the circulation fan for the heating. We can run it in eco or high, and if I now turn off both hot water and heating and return to it, we can also use the fan to vent the motorhome. It has a fan speed of 1 to 10. If I now move to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer. If I now click on it, you can set a start time and then an end time, and then just decide what you would like on within that time period. So let's say you want your heating on at 18 degrees, you want water in eco, you want to be using dual fuel, and we'll leave the circulation fan in eco mode. And then lastly, timer off or on. If I now put the timer on, the timer icon will come up there, and as you can see, because I've set it within the time period it is at the moment, the timer has come on, and whenever the timer is in operation it will flash just here. If I now return to it, I can turn the timer back off again, and when I go back in I can then re-alter it again. Next is clock set. And then lastly we have the settings menu. So within this we have offset, which is just for the onboard thermostat. If you don't think it's quite correct, you can just slightly adjust it. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of the screen. 12 or 24 hour clock. Language. Index, more for the technicians, but it will basically let them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, these control panels will throw up error codes. They will usually be something relatively basic. So if you're trying to run the system on main supply, but you do not have mains connected or you've tripped, it will throw up an error code to let you know. And it will also do this if you're trying to run on gas and your gas is depleted or not turned on. You will basically get a series of numbers and letters in the center of the screen, and you'll get a warning triangle where my finger is. If you Google the error code or look in the manual, it will tell you what the problem is. And if it's something relatively basic, once you've rectified it, the error code will usually automatically disappear. If this does not happen, just go back to the warning triangle and double press on it, and it will then sometimes say no error and the error code will disappear. If this doesn't happen, if you still have anything running along the top here, just turn it off because it can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If this still doesn't work, I always suggest the good old-fashioned turn it off and turn it back on again. And the way we turn this control panel off is just by holding the button in until it says off. If when you turn it on you still have an error code, I then always suggest just doing the factory reset, because sometimes that's all that is required. If I now come to the travel seats just here and remove the cushions, we will now find the Truma boiler itself just here. The drain valve for the boiler is just here, and these particular valves are automatic. So if the temperature inside this motorhome drops below about 3 or 4 degrees, this valve will automatically open and drop all the water out of the boiler to frost protect itself. If this happens, all that will happen is a blue button just here will pop out to allow the water to drain out. To reset it, all you need to do is just push it back in. If it will not stay in, it's just too cold in the motorhome and you will need to turn your heating on to generate some heat to allow it to reset. We can also manually drain the boiler down for winterization, and the way we do this is by twisting this blue diamond here, and it will then make the blue button pop out. When doing this, make sure the water pump is turned off, and as you can see, it's now draining the water out of the boiler directly underneath the van at this point here. To reclose, twist and push the button back in, and then to refill the boiler back up again, fill up the fresh water tank, turn on the main control panel, turn on the water pump, and it will then begin to refill the boiler. Let it run for a few minutes and then begin opening the taps up. They'll cough and splutter as they force any air out of the system. Once they're running both freely on hot and cold, reclose, and then the system will fully reprime itself. If you are using the heating or hot water on gas, you cannot open this window here, as there is a pressure switch just here. This pressure switch will be activated when the window is opened, because the flue for the boiler sits underneath it, so it is to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Underneath this section here is literally storage, and then this section here can come out, and this board can be removed to make the 2 travel seats. If I now come across to the other side, and again just remove the cushions, and I now just lift up this section here, you will see that we have the 12-volt fuses for the motorhome just here. They are labelled up with little symbols on the top, on the side here. Fuses here. So if anything's not working on 12 volt, just check to see if you've blown a fuse. And we then have the leisure battery just here. If I now just remove the cushion just here, we have the location of the fresh water tank. To drain the fresh water tank down, all we need to do is just unscrew the cap just here, and you will see that there are 2 drain bungs in the bottom of the tank. This one here being known as the travel drain, so if you pull this out it will drain the majority of the water out, but just leave you enough if you need any water on the move. And then this one here will drain the tank down completely. The water pump is just located here. In the overhead locker just here is the digital amplifier for the television aerial on the roof. Control the gain just here, and then the TV can be mounted on the bracket just here, and you'll find the TV connection points underneath. Three gas rings just here. You will need to get an igniter, and then it's just a matter of pushing in and twisting round. And then directly beneath that is the oven and the grill. Push in to the left for the oven. And then push in and to the right for the grill. Directly beneath that you will find the gas isolation taps for the motorhome. So we have the heating and the hot water, the hob, the oven and the fridge, all in the on position, and quite frankly they can stay like that. I always say these are more for maintenance than anything else. If you do smell gas in the van, go to the source and turn off the gas bottle. Wardrobe just here, and just tucked up here is the solar panel regulator. Do not need to do anything with this, it will just smart charge the battery as it is required. And then underneath it you will find the trip switches for the motorhome. So we have the individual MCBs, the main RCD and the test button. So if anything's not working on main supply, just check to see if you have tripped. The fridge freezer is just here, on and off on the black square. This is an automatic model, so as long as you are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're currently hooked up to main supply, it's put us onto mains with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. As you can see, the screen will disappear after a few seconds, but you can still see that the unit is on with the green light. To re-illuminate it, just tap the grey button. We can take it out of auto if we want to, which is a little bit pointless. I do prefer auto because it's a lot easier, because if we didn't have main supply, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas, and then as soon as we start the engine of the motorhome, it will then automatically go over to 12 volt maintain. But to manually select anything, just hold the grey button in, and then you can manually select mains, manually select 12 volt maintain, and then manually select gas. But automatic is the easiest option to have it on. Once you've selected that, temperature control just here. And then we have the freezer box at the top. And then we have the pull-out section at the bottom. And then to turn the unit back off again, just hold the button in. Washroom just here. So we have the basin. This also is the shower head as well, which just connects up here. To put this into shower mode, just push here and then just push back down here to turn it back into tap mode. Do make sure that the shower screen is clipped for travel. And then we have the toilet just here. The bowl does swivel. To open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever across and then push to flush, and then reclose back up again. If this is left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure that nobody has left this open. We then have the rear beds. And this section can lift up out of the way. For the electric drop down bed, you do need to make sure that the cushions have been moved out of the way before lowering. This way they will not foul on the bed as it lowers. Just press the button. You have full control over it. As soon as you let go, it will stop. And then it will lower to this point here. Hook the ladder on the edge, and then directly underneath you'll find netting that can be put up. Obviously this bed can be used in the higher position as well if you're going to use the lower bed beneath it. And if you are having it slightly high, you will not need to remove so many cushions. To make the lower bed, you will need the bed makeup boards, and then you will also need to lower this table as well. Before lowering it, I'll just show you how all the other functions work on it. So this one here, when it's in the open position, allows the table to slide backwards and forwards, and then once it's locked into place, it will no longer move. This lever here allows the table to be lowered. If I then undo these sections, on both sides. This will then allow the table to slide and then be able to then be put out like so. And then we can also rotate the table as well, and this is done by pulling down on this section just here, and then you'll see there is another leg just underneath here that needs to be dropped when you are completely lowering the table to make the bed.